Okay, hello everyone. It's me. So yeah, I'll tell you what I'm doing today. Well, first let's discuss what I'm drawing. I'm drawing a background for the character in my object show, who her name is Planty, and she is a big fangirl of BFDI because she's kind of my object Sona. So of course she is, and of course her favorite character is Pin. But yeah, I'm going to be drawing the background for her room. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be telling you about how to make an object show because I am making an object show. So, I hope the audio is not crap, but I really can't tell when I'm recording it. And this is like completely unscripted, by the way. All I have is notes on how to do this. Also, I do want to mention I got not most of them, but some of the information about how to make an object show I got from this one fandom post by rmation YT called How to Improve Your Object Shows. So I want to give credit where credit is due. So, anyway, I hope I'm going to be able to draw and talk at the same time. I haven't made these kinds of videos before. And I know I could just record it and then draw and then put them together, but that takes a lot of effort. And as you know, I don't like putting effort into my YouTube videos, for now anyway. Well, anyway, yeah, I have my notes on my notes app on my phone, and I need to stop stalling and get ready to do this. So, the first thing is, so you're thinking of starting an object show, right? You want to figure out what the kind of tone for the object show is going to be. Like, is it going to be really dark and spooky? Is it going to be really comedic, dramatic, a mixture? That's kind of what BFDI is. And yeah, I'm not doing a good job, am I? Anyway. Yeah, so you need to figure out what kind of tone you're going for. If you don't know what tone to do, think about the kind of shows you like to watch and the kind of books you like to read, and think about what kind of tones they have. Like, this could also be genre, like if you want it to be a sci-fi, that's my favorite. Or if you want it to be fantasy, if you want it to have a rich world building. If you want it to just be realistic fiction, however you do that with objects talking. Yeah, that's how you do the tone. Next, you want to decide if it's going to be a competition show or not. Because most object shows are competition shows because BFDI was based on Total Drama Island, which was based on Survivor. So you want to decide if it's going to be a competition show or just random stuff. I'm really not good at writing stuff that's not formulaic. Like, everything I write, whenever I try to write a show, it's always formulaic. Like, when I wrote the Pinky and the Brain spec scripts a while back, that was formulaic because it's like, try to take over the world, doesn't get done, start over. So yeah, I don't think I can draw while I'm talking, but I'm gonna keep trying. So, competition or not. It could also be like a race, like I don't know what the Amazing Race, I think that's what it's called, like based off of that. That's like a competition show but a different kind. So, yeah, there's that. Next, you want to decide what your voting style will be. Will it be contestant voting or viewer voting? Contestant voting is what I'm doing for my object show, The Battle of the Sentients, because I kind of just want full control and I know that Jack and Jellyfy, that's how you say their name, right? But that one person, Satomi, kept trying to get Nickel's team out so that Nickel would be eliminated, and that didn't really work. But yeah, I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to try to manipulate the viewers like that. So it's better for me to just have full control. And besides, that means I can get episodes out sooner because I'll be working on multiple episodes at a time. But that means there's not going to be too much viewer contribution, but that's where stuff like recommended characters come in. Like, you can have viewers submit recommended characters that can be a potential contestant or just a background role. And yeah, I lost my train of thought again. Okay. So then, oh my gosh, I really need to just draw and then talk. But it's okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it right. So, we're still talking about voting styles, by the way. So, if you do decide to do viewer voting, then you're going to want to figure out how you're going to do that. The traditional BFDI style, I think, was just voting in the comments. But then you got like millions of subscribers and stuff. So my favorite of viewer voting is the BFDIA style, where you like and dislike, because it has prizes. I love that. And I have got to stop losing my train of thought. It has prizes, and also it's really fun to vote, like, to dislike a video and to like another video. I don't know why, it's just fun to me. But there's also other forms you can do, like the popular BFB style, which is voting in square brackets. And Donut makes it very obvious that it's supposed to be square brackets. So that's a really popular style, I believe. There's also, you could do Google Forms. I wouldn't recommend that because that probably takes too much effort for the viewer. And going to a website, which I think is what Inanimate Insanity did. But not everyone has their own website. Okay, does this look good? So that's the voting style. Next is decide what your prize is going to be. I would not... You know what? It doesn't actually matter what the prize is, I don't think. It's not about the prize. It's about the journey. Because in BFDIA, you know what they're fighting for. They're fighting for a bunch of cardboard cutouts of farm animals. So it doesn't really matter what the prize is. But if you really want some ideas, then the most common ones are money, valuable items. What I'm doing for my object show is a castle, because why not? It was going to be a mansion, but my dad said mansions are outdated. I don't know what that's all about. But castles are cooler anyway. And if you want unconventional prizes, the Daily Object Show literally has really good smelling lotion, really neutral smelling lotion, really bad smelling lotion, and really chaotic smelling lotion. So you can do something like that. So that's the prize. Next, this isn't talked about a lot, I don't think, but how you pick the challenge. I've only seen a couple of different styles of doing this. And the main style is just, we're gonna do this for no reason. My favorite style is spinning a challenge wheel. Can you tell which season of BFDI isn't my favorite yet? But yeah, that's what I'm doing for my object show too. because it's fun because you can put a bunch of random crap in the other slots that aren't going to be picked, make meta jokes, just do some funny stuff and be creative with that. And yeah, so that's my favorite. And then another idea I had was drawing from a hat, which isn't as fun as spinning a wheel, but it could be done. So the next thing is how you recover people. Now, if your object show characters aren't gonna die a bunch, then this doesn't really apply. But if they do die a lot, which is often common in object shows, then you need to have a place for them to come back to life because, or else they're just gonna die forever, and nobody wants that. Unless you're in the finale of I guess. But anyway, there's the recovery center from BFDI. I made something similar called the revival vending machine. So it has all the characters and you press the grid thing, the A1 or whatever you want, and then the character comes out. And I'm thinking of possibly making a little twist, but I'm not sure what it's going to be. But anyway, that's an option. Or you could do something like a recovery app. Sorry, my mom's calling me. I have to text her that I'm recording real quick because she probably wants me to talk to her. I am recording something right now. Can't talk. Sorry. Yeah, I don't want to edit this, so that's just going to stay in there. This is life. I do not like how this looks. But, where even was I? Recovery centers. Okay, so you can do something like Inanimate Insanity with an app that recovers people. Or an interesting idea I like is to just have the host or whatever snap their fingers and then the person comes back, which is interesting because it can show that there's unexplained powers. I was thinking of doing that for my thing because I do want my host to have unexplained powers, but I decided to go with the RVM instead. And that's it for that. So the next thing is you want to make it unique, right? And object shows are really formulaic and all the same, but there are some things that are still formulaic sometimes, but not all object shows use them. So that would be like contestant voting is pretty rare, I believe. I think most of object shows are viewer voting. So if you're doing contestant voting, you're already on the right track to making it unique. And other things would be double eliminations. Like, I haven't seen Teapot yet, but I think they do double eliminations because BFDI made a big mistake and put in way too many characters, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, double eliminations. You can have episode where there's not eliminations and also episodes that don't have challenges. Like, there was one episode in II that did that. It was in season 2, and it was just about character interactions, no challenges. I think it was the filler episode. But yeah, filler episodes aren't always bad because they can explore character development. And other things you can do, rejoins, debuts, like mid-season debuts. Am I even saying that word right? I don't know. The recommended characters, I don't know why that is in the unique category. Lots of shows have RCs. Vote to save. I was considering doing that, But I decided not to because, number one, I don't even know how they do that in BFB and Teapot. Like, can you only vote one person to save? I would not like that at all. And especially that since it's contestant voting, like, you're going to have to pick one friend. Really? And... But there it is an interesting swap of voting styles. And the last one I have here is team swapping. Again, this is from that fandom page I mentioned earlier. And team swapping, they did that in Inanimate Sanity Invitational. They did that briefly in BFDI Season 1, I think. And another thing, just like the thing in the BFDIA where every episode you could switch teams, I really like that mechanic. Because then there were 3 teams. They started with 2 teams and they went to 3 teams and people kept switching and there was Betrayal by Rocky. But yeah, I really like that idea. Like, if a team isn't working out, you can always just make them switch. So, there's that. That's the end of my concept section. I don't know if there was more. There's probably a lot more, and I'm going to make this a whole series, so I'm just going to make videos about this so I can just add stuff as I go along. But the next section, and the last one I'll be doing for today, is characters. Yay! So, how do you make an object show character? It's actually pretty simple. Look around your house. If you are really stumped and you can't think of a single object, just go around your house and point to a random object, and that's a character. It doesn't really matter what they are because they're characters. It doesn't matter that they're objects. But, yeah. So you see, and don't worry about, did I lose my train? I should not have lost my train of thought again. Don't worry about using an object that's already been created because I guarantee you, if you can think of it, it's probably an object show character. There are literally numbers as object show characters. There are probably concepts. There are memes. There are literally memes personified. There's the BFDI mouth, I'm sure, a bunch of times. But, yeah, so don't worry about there being another object that's the same as yours, because there is. You can't do anything about that. Make yours unique. I would shy away from making objects that are from, like, I don't know, BFDI or something, because that's really popular and you could probably be influenced by that object's personality and accidentally make them a clone. So, which I accidentally did with one of my contestants, Penny, because in the one thing I saw of someone else's contestant, Penny, she looked like a peppy character, and so I made my Penny a peppy character. Or maybe that was just because the Penny and Peppy sound similar. I don't know why I made her like that. Or maybe because it starts with P and that's like Pinkie Pie, who is a peppy character. I don't know. But it's fine, because I don't actually think that character is a peppy character. So it's fine. So, their name, the character's name. Usually, it is just the name of the object, or the name of an object with a Y at the end. But some people do like to put human names. I don't really like to do that because it's an object show, not a human show. But, yeah. So you can have a human name for them. If you want to learn about how to name humans, do not come to me. I'm not good at that. I named a human I named one of my human characters in something after a lion in the Lion Guard, Kiara. So don't come to me asking for help with that. I think this is too light. But I did not mean to do that. So names, that's what that's about. No, this looks too similar to the outline though. No, I want it to be more orange actually. Okay, got it. So next, make them more complex than just nice and mean. Leafy's different, okay? Leafy's different. But don't just make characters and have their defining personality trait being mean. Well, I mean, I do have a clique of mean girls, but they are more complex than just mean. And one of them is just dragged into that group. So she's not actually mean. And then one of them gets a redemption arc in season 2. One of them might get a redemption arc if I continue after season 3. So no, they're not just mean. So you have to have, there's lots of places you can get character trait ideas. So I would recommend doing that. Like you can just look up character trait ideas. It will come up. And you will get lots of ideas. And I need to move on. Okay. My thing I like to do with characters is giving them a core desire and a core fear. This was inspired by the Enneagram thing, which are character traits based on their core desires and fears. But I didn't really pay attention to the Enneagram types. I just decided, what's their core desire? What's their core fear? Like, for example, one of my characters wants stability and fears destruction. I don't know if that's a good example. One of my characters, I'm trying to think, wants to be understood and fears hurting others. One of my characters wants to be loved and fears being abandoned. Stuff like that. It doesn't have to be completely so deep. Like, it can be wants to cause chaos. That's one of my characters, too. And fears boredom. It doesn't have to be all deep. But, yeah, that's how keeping their core desires and fears in the back of my mind is how I try to write them better. So, some more things you can do besides just personality traits is giving them like love languages, learning styles, stuff like that. I have spreadsheets for each of my characters, and they have a lot on there. I can actually pull it up on my phone right now, what they have. So my characters, they have their name, nicknames, because nicknames are fun, gender, pronouns, sexuality, romantic orientation, all that stuff. Personality trait defined in one word. So I like doing that because that's easier than looking at a whole list every time you want. I know I'm contradicting myself because earlier I literally said don't just make them nice or mean. But they do have more personality than that. I just wanted to try to sum it up in one word. Desires, fears, speech patterns, which that's not how their voice sounds. That's like the kind of words they say. Like giving your characters unique OMGs. Like in BFDI, they're like, oh my woodsicle, oh my mint. And so that's also really fun to come up with. But there's also like, do they speak like a valley girl? Do they use profanity? Or if you're doing a kid show, do they use disguised profanity? Do they talk really intellectually? Do they use contractions? One of my characters is a robot, so she starts out not using contractions. Love languages, learning styles. And then I have the whole relationships thing. I'll talk more about that later. Strengths, weaknesses, and I use these for like physical strengths and weaknesses because I just put the psychological and emotional strengths and weaknesses in the personality category. Disorders, because I am making a show that has canonical autism, ADHD, and anxiety representation, because those are the three I know the most about. Then the label, because that's just for fun, like the host, the troublemaker. Character development, I write whole paragraphs for that. Hobbies, likes, dislikes, description, like if you were to make a character page for them, what would the description be? Fun fact, and season rankings, which I don't know for all of the characters, but yeah. So there's that. Then you don't want too many characters, okay? Don't do what BFB did, because that was clearly too much for them to handle. Like, there were so many characters that didn't get enough screen time. There were so many characters that were just plain boring. And then you also get repetitive characters, too. And I need water because my voice is getting all croaky. So, yeah. Hydrate, everyone. I have a sticker on my water bottle that says, "Let's taco about it," and it's under a picture of a taco. So, yeah. Okay, where was I? So, yeah, not too many characters because they'll be underdeveloped and they won't get enough screen time. I still want Pin from BFDI to have more screen time, even though she probably has enough already. But next is the host is a character, so treat them like one. Also, I forgot to mention one of the ways I'm making my host unique from other hosts is that she's a girl. There are not a lot of girl hosts, I don't think. So, yeah, there's that. And the last thing is relationships. You want established relationships at the beginning of the show if they're already living together, but if they have never met before, then the relationships will develop during the show. And yeah, and I lost train of thought again. Because I'm drawing, probably. So they can also develop relationships even if they already know each other. Because that's how stuff works. You know each other, but you're not friends yet, and then you become friends. There's lots of things you can do with relationships. I love shipping, so naturally I'm going to have canon ships in my show. And then I'll support basically every other ship that's not canon. Except for the one that I made them siblings, because why not have siblings, okay? But yeah. What else am I going to say? I should have a lot to say about relationships. There's lots of things you can do. You can do enemies to friends, on and off again friends, on and off again lovers. Yeah, you can just basically apply for anything I say about friends and apply it to lovers, I guess. Like I said about that clique with the character who truly does not belong there, she is going to have a whole standing up for herself arc. So there's that. Then yeah, there's so many things you could do with relationships. So, I did not get very much done on this drawing because I was talking. But that's the first part of my series on how to make an object show. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Anyway, bye.